Buongiorno e benvenuti. Welcome to Art Yoga Pills with me, your host, Dinny. In this space, we will connect and share together about creativity, inner child, and self-awareness. Siete pronti? Enjoy! Ciao a tutti, Kia ora, and welcome to a new episode of Art Yoga Pills. Today I'm not alone. I have with me a special guest, Patrice Kelly. Have I pronounced your name right? I know that Italian it could be tricky to pronounce it. How are you, Patrice?
Yeah, that's perfect. It
Oh,
probably sounds nicer than my pronunciation, to be honest.
thank you.
Yeah, I'm really good. Thanks. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for accepting my invitation. I'm really excited to share a conversation with you. I know that you are a person full of resources, and I can't wait to share them with me to begin with, and hopefully also our listener who might be inspired by your story. But for those who don't know you yet, would you mind to share a little bit of who Patrice is?
Yeah, sure. Kia ora koutou, ko Patrice Takuingwa, no whakatū aho. So my name is Patrice and I currently am living in Nelson, which is where I grew up. But I moved to Auckland for a little stint, which is where I met Dinny. I lived in Auckland for almost 8 years, and I've just recently, in January, moved back to Nelson. Um, so I am a naturopath, I'm a medical herbalist, a massage therapist, and a teacher or a tutor. So my current work at the moment, I am working part-time at Park College of Natural Therapies. So I am a tutor on the naturopathy program there. And just while I settle into Nelson, that's all I'm doing at the moment, but I will be looking into kind of expanding, doing more of the naturopathy, herbal medicine, etc. Yeah.
Wow, thank you, Patrice, for sharing that. And I guess the the beginning of our journey will be the one to lead me to your journey, which is the path of naturopathy. I feel still struggle with this. There are too many H for me for my Italian, but it's something that is I came across especially with my relationship with you, and it's something that always fascinated me, especially here in New Zealand, where it happens that there are so many wild herbs that they are so profoundly sacred, and it's something that I haven't experienced in my journey while I was born and raised in Italy. So I wonder how this journey began with you, your connection with nature, if it came as soon as you remember, you have memory of yourself, or if it's something that grow along your journey.
Yeah, great question. I would say that it probably started from birth and has probably been passed down to me from my ancestors. But I do have really, really early memories of like being in the garden and making little fairy houses out of like leaves and branches and making up little potions with like sticks and leaves and flowers. So I do have really early memories of spending a lot of time in nature. And I guess it was something that my parents kind of instilled in me as well. We've always kind of lived in nature, in the bush, and my mum is an avid gardener, and my grandfather as well was a really avid gardener. So when I was young, I used to have to garden as one of my chores, and I didn't like it, but doing that from a really young age really instilled that love for nature, for herbs, for gardening in me. And then it kind of, I guess, developed over my life. There was probably a period where I wasn't so connected with nature, but then I came back more into connection with it and really kind of found my path, which led me to the herbal medicine and the naturopathy.
Thank you so much, Patrice, for sharing. While you were talking about your family, kind of connect me to my one as well, which I had a similar experience, which my not my parents, but my grandparents and the generation before them were farmers back in Italy. So it kind of makes sense to me that I was somehow connected to the land as well, although I remember that in my teenage year, it's where I lost it a little bit. So I wonder if you had a similar period in your journey where you felt quite disconnected and not any longer attracted to spend time in nature or being out there, where you now you seems to have found yourself, or maybe you never even lost it at that path. But I wonder how it was for you, if it ever was a point where that was not in part of you. Yeah, part of you.
Yeah, I don't think I fully ever lost it, but I think, and probably same as you in those, excuse me, in those teenage years, um, other things become important, you know, the normal teenage stuff. And I spent also quite a lot of time in cities, so living in bigger cities, and off kind of doing my own thing, traveling and having fun. So I guess that was a point where I wasn't so like deeply connected with nature, but I was, you know, I've always been, you know, spending time in nature, whether or not it was conscious or not. But now it's more of a like conscious, you know, this is my life path and this is what I'm doing with my life.
And from a point of view of someone that might not know exactly what naturopathy is, I know that it's a whole world and it might be very simple to trying to describe it with just a few words, but feel free to extend your sharing of what naturopathy is, and maybe perhaps also what it means to you.
Yeah, sure. Um, and that's interesting because a lot of people maybe don't know what naturopathy is or have an idea but don't quite understand. So that's quite common. But naturopathy is a healthcare system, and it has a really specific set of philosophies and principles that kind of underpin it. So there are lots of ways that people practice naturopathy, and different naturopaths might have different kind of modalities under their belt that they use, but it's always underpinned by a whole set of principles and philosophies. And some of those principles include holism, so treating people as whole people, not just the physical body, but also the spiritual, the community, the emotional, all different levels of the body. So holism, and a whole range of other principles as well, like doctor as teacher or naturopath as teacher. So a big part of naturopathy is education and educating clients or educating people that you might be working with about themselves and their bodies so that they can take their health into their own hands. So that's just a few of the underpinnings, but there's quite a few of them. So if anyone wants to learn more about what actually is a naturopath, they could have a look at the World Naturopathic Federation website. There's some really good resources on there that kind of explains it. And there are kind of three main pillars of naturopathy. So naturopaths always use nutrition, they use nature, and under nature that can include herbal medicine, that can include aromatherapy, and they use lifestyle changes. And often they're clinical practitioners, so working one-on-one with clients, but a lot of naturopaths do that kind of educational work as well. So workshops, classes, group sessions. Yeah.
Wow, it's a whole world, and I'm glad that I had the chance, at least with you, to explore a little bit of the one-on-one part of this whole realm that to me is so interesting. And I wonder, to me, when I'm looking at New Zealand, I'm noticing that is quite a green country, in a sense that maybe if I compare it with my own one, with Italy, it's a place where it's not exactly famous for his landscape, although we have some. But the first thing that I'm thinking of Italy is not for sure landscape, natural landscape, which lead me to my question related to the fact that do you feel that you are somehow grateful of the fact that you have happened to be born in a country that is such a variety of um, natural, I don't know if this is the right way to say, but natural diversity that allowed us on a daily basis to find in nature something that can be implemented for our health and well-being. And if there was another country, perhaps which one would have been instead, if you could have chose where else to born, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, awesome question. Yes, I'm so incredibly grateful to be born in Aotearoa, like really, really grateful, and really grateful to be Māori as well, and to have that like deep connection with nature that is kind of inherent in Māoritanga. So yeah, every day I'm grateful to be here in this country and be surrounded by beautiful native plants and such a rich biodiversity. And it's funny that you talk about Italy maybe not being so well known for its landscapes, because I did live in Italy for a time, and I had an amazing time, loved my time there. But I distinctly remember flying back into New Zealand, flying into Wellington and just being like, it's so green. Like, I can't believe how green it was. So going out of the country for quite some time and traveling a bit and then coming back, that even like strengthened my appreciation for my homeland. Like, I loved being in other countries, but coming back here, just being like, wow, so green. And that color green kind of does something to you. It is quite healing in itself, that, you know, kind of green frequency that you soak in all the time. It can be healing in itself. So the second part of your question about choosing to be born in another country, I don't know if I've ever thought about that before. Quite a tricky question, but maybe if I could choose to be born somewhere else, I probably wouldn't, but maybe a tropical island like Rarotonga or Samoa or somewhere like that, where there's also lots of nature. Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much, Patricia. Yeah, I remember that you had experienced Italy as well. That's why I was really curious, because at least in my case, we tend to wish always to discover places other than the one we're living in, and it's so nice and fascinating to me to hear that you are actually grateful, and you are not many intention anyway to choose even just for a second another country that is not your own, which is very beautiful to me to hear. And that to me gives me also an appreciation as a person that came here by choice of the deep connection that you mentioned with nature, especially from a Maori point of view. And what I really like as a foreigner, when I start to have this first connection with nature in New Zealand, was how, for example, for a famous plant. I don't know if other people rather than New Zealand listener are listening to this podcast, but what I really like of nature here is the kawakawa leaf, which is a native plant. And to me, the experience of asking to the plant permission to be picked was something really profound. And I know that, especially possibly with your experience at Wellpark College, you might have had assignment either as a student or even now as a teacher, where you need to create this sort of connection with nature. So I wonder if there is anyone in particular that you have experienced that you wish to share. I guess that to me is very important, this connection, as sometimes you get a little bit lost as in nature, and sometimes can be also ridiculous. I don't know if this word is exactly, but people make fun, can make fun of you if you are talking with plants. But to me, it's something so fascinating. So that's why I'm curious to know from very specific point of view, which is yours, how if there is any experience that you could share about your personal relationship with one or more plants, if possible.
Yeah, absolutely. I love this question, Dinny, because it's maybe one of my favorite topics to talk about ever. Um, so one of the things that I do as a herbal medicine tutor, and I didn't make it up, it was passed down to me from my herbal medicine tutors, and probably something that has been in practice for centuries, is something that we call organoleptics. And part of organoleptics is getting to know a plant on a deeper level. So understanding the kind of macroscopic of the plant. So what does it look like? What's the structure of the plant? And then bringing in all of the sensory organs. So what does it look like? What does it smell like? What does it taste like? What does it feel like? And then part of that is also having a connection with the plant, maybe talking with the plant or connecting with the plant in a way it might look different for other people. So I had quite a profound experience doing this specific practice for the first time when I was studying. And I remember the first time I did it, I chose to get to know sage. So, the tutor sent us off and we had to pick a plant and sit with it and look at it and observe it and then do a little plant meditation with it. So I spent some time with sage and looking at it and then had a little meditation with it. And I could, it's almost like the plant was talking to me. And it's not like I could exactly hear its voice in my head, but I had a connection with this plant and it was, sharing some information with me about what it might be, good for. And I didn't really know at this stage anything about sage really. And I just got the sense of like it was really matriarchal, this plant. It was something really matriarchal or like wise woman or crone like to this plant. And then I went off and talked to my tutor about it and found out that sage is often used to support people who are coming into or going through menopause. And so that really struck a chord with me. Like I was feeling that real like matriarch, wise woman, spirit from this plant. And then that's often what it's used to, support people when they're going into that phase of their life. So I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. Like I can talk to plants, like, and that really like sparked some passion in me, which has developed over my herbal medicine practice and also in my teaching now. So this is something that I do with my students. I've introduced a herb journal and I encourage my students to, do this practice regularly as an additional way to get to know plants a little bit better. And for some people, they might struggle with that actual talking to plants or meditating with plants, but some people really, love doing that. And either way, whether or not they talk to plants or they have that connection, they still are spending that kind of time with the plant, being mindful, really observing it is a really good way to get to know and learn about plants on a deeper level. So that's one of my favorite things to do with students, and students really seem to get a lot out of that. So yeah, people probably think that I'm crazy talking to plants, but whatever, like it's, something that I really love doing. And I am a firm believer in that's a really good way to get to know and understand plants on a deeper level and not just reading the information from books or, having someone tell you about it is really actually learning from that deeper connection of the plant, kind of letting you know and connecting in with you. So, and it's really hard for me to pick like one plant that I've had a connection with. Like I had that initial one with sage, but there are so many plants that are my favorite and that I have special connections with, and I have a lot of special connections with a lot of the native plants. So it's really hard for me to pick a favorite. I've got a big list of favorites.
Oh, but thank you so much, Patrice, for sharing your experience. Is something that it's not on a daily basis of many of us to create that deep connection with plants. But I'm pretty sure that even if someone that might have just one plant in the household might have experienced at least one a very small connection that it might not be as deeper as your one, but still it kind of can initiate the spark and the way that we can all connect with nature on a deeper level. Sometimes we forgot that we are part of it, and as well the connection especially that we might have with plants is the reason why we are able to breathe. And to me is something that is very profound, although of course there are still people that might think that we might be witches for this reason, but it's something that I kind of like and appreciate anyway, because it it makes me feel like to be special anyway, to have my own personal connection with plants, and know that somehow they are able to guide us, as for experience with sage, something that I didn't know myself, there was such a plant that is used for healing menopause, and knowing that you had that connection on a deeper level is something that it gave me goosebump a little bit when I experienced it. So thank you for sharing that.
Oh, no worries.
And I would like to ask you if, in your experience, I don't know now because you just mentioned that you recently moved to Nelson, but I wonder if is your intention to offer more of those workshops that you mentioned as well, where people can come and experience from themselves a little taste of what this experience could look like on their own skin and with their own senses.
Yeah, absolutely. This is something that I have kind of brewing at the moment in my mind. I'm just taking a bit of time to kind of like settle in to Nelson, but once I kind of feel ready to kind of come out of my cocoon, then I will definitely be doing workshops. It's kind of at the top of my list, and a few ideas planned. So things like edible weed walks out in nature where we just go and forage and make some things that are edible out of weeds that we find. Also doing some stuff with natives. I'd love to do some herbal manufacturing workshops here in Nelson. So making some products from herbs that we find. So yeah, education is one of my big passions, my big love. So I really would love to, go out into the community and share this with people, and share that experience that I had that other people can get as well. It's something that I really love to do. So yes, watch this space.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, we will definitely share below the description of this event, Facebook and Instagram. So if something comes up, everybody will be aware of. And I'm really grateful that there are people such as yourself that are passionate about education, especially on this realm that is not something that we can experience on, well, my experience in Italy. I didn't have many hours of gardening where I could grow this passion, although was anyway part of my family. So it's wonderful that there is this possibility of being curious and get to know something and know that the same topic can be explored on so many different level, because as you mentioned, it's something really cool to just have simple knowledge of, if you cut yourself, which plant should I pick, which one can support me in healing faster, but as well as like in cosmetic sense, which plant should I pick to be to create my natural lip balm or lip gloss, something like that. And I like that it can literally be taken on every level, even internally or externally, depending on the use that you need to create the connection with a specific plant. And I'm really surprised of the extended knowledge that there is related with this topic, and such a poor knowledge on a daily basis that we need to always seems to be on the lookout for these things if we are a little bit curious, while to me it should have been something that we all been brought up with. And I'm kind of sad that it got lost on the way. As you said, you find yourself connected to plant also on your um, ancestor connection, so generational, but that might not be the experience of many. So I'm glad that there is something available where people might truly expand what they wish to cultivate for themselves and in relationship with naturopathy and medicinal herb. I'm really bad to with titles.
Oh, you're doing good.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you so much. I'm
Yeah.
still experiencing this role as facilitator, but thank you for your support.
Oh, I totally, yeah, totally agree. But the thing with this like knowledge and this connection with nature is that it can be accessible to everyone. And if people feel like that's something that might be too hard, or that it's too hard to understand, or there's too much to kind of learn, it's totally not the case. It's everyone's kind of birthright to understand plants and to know how to use them. And it can be really, really accessible. You don't have to have the deepest knowledge to be able to utilize plants, and to be able to find some plants and make medicine from plants. Like, it can be something that is accessible and doesn't have to be super, super complex. Yeah.
Thank you so much for adding on that, because it's something very true. It's just that sometimes we are covered by so many different stimulus that we forgot that there is such a something as simple as getting this small knowledge that doesn't require us to go to university to study, but it can be passed from a person to a person and used on a daily basis. I really like the simplicity of this knowledge that, even though to me it sounds like very potent, it's something really easy to access to if we are open for it, or if we want to discover a little bit more about the subject. So thank you for specifying on that.
Mm.
And I guess that my next question for you is related with another aspect of your identity, or the one that you wish to identify with, which is the part of massage therapist. And I wonder how this aspect came into your life, if it was connected with your other aspect of your life, or it came for a different reason.
Yeah, good question. So what is interesting is I have a memory of being quite young, and my mum used to give me like 20 cents or 50 cents to give her a back massage. So so I used to be a massage therapist in my younger days. Um, and then also I remember being maybe like 12 and being like, I want to be a massage therapist when I grow up. And then that kind of disappeared and forgot about it. And then did my studies with naturopathy, which was a 3-year degree, and then got to the end of it and felt like I really wanted to add something in that kind of brought that more physical element into my practice. So naturopathy, herbal medicine, nutrition, there's a lot of talking that happens and in the clinical setting, but I wanted to have something where I could bring in that physical touch with my clients as well, because I think that's a really important aspect of healing. So then I went on to do a diploma of wellness and relaxation massage through the New Zealand College of Massage straight after finishing my degree. So just added on another year of study. And yeah, that was really, really awesome to learn those skills. It was quite a different kind of style of studying, lots of physical practice, lots of massaging. At the beginning, you feel like quite unfit, and then you get, more kind of what's called massage fit. And so then I started to kind of only be doing massages, and I wasn't really blending my naturopathy and my massage therapy. I was kind of doing the two separately. But in the future, if I do see clients, it is something that I like to blend a little bit more into my practice. So both naturopathy and massage therapy, because naturopathy does include massage therapy. Yeah.
Wow, it's so fascinating that there are, as we already mentioned, several ways of healing ourselves on different level, and I like that you're trying to implement each of them in what is your personal understanding of possible healing with people. And I really love the story of your mom hiring you for your the beginning of your path in your career in healing people with your touch. So
Yes.
that is amazing. I wonder if at this point in our sharing there is anything else that you might wish to share that I might not have asked you yet, but you feel quite drawn to share with our listeners. You might also say no, don't worry. It's just like the check-in that I do.
Yeah. Something that did pop into my head that I forgot and now it's come back, so I think I will share it. When we were talking about plant communication, I wanted to mention about, the way that plants communicate with us is not just through like sitting down, meditating and talking to plants, but if we're eating plants or if we're taking herbal medicine or applying herbal medicine externally, that is a form of plant communication. That all of those chemicals that are inside the plant are joining to our receptors in our body and sending messages to our body to do things. So that is a way of plant communication as well. So even if you feel like you can't communicate with plants, even just using herbal medicine or using herbs in your dinner or having a lemon ginger honey drink, that is plant communication too.
Yeah, and that simplify exactly what we were sharing before about how accessible this connection can be, because you just mentioned like drinking a cup of tea with ginger and honey, or just like hot water with ginger, honey, and lemon, and that is already something that as a basic knowledge, we know that we can drink it when we have problem with the throat or when we feel a little bit feverish. So there is already a sort of connection that hasn't been lost, and we can keep on connecting with it on a daily basis, because I believe also that the connection with nature in this, especially in this form as a healing way of connecting with a plant, is a more natural way to also increase and boost our immune system, and kind of keep us going back to what we were doing way before pharmaceutical industry were out there. So connecting truly deeply with something so simple yet so powerful. So thank you for highlighting this aspect as well.
All right.
And arriving at this page, at this moment in our conversation, there is just one last part that I would like to check in with you, which is the final question of our sharing. I mentioned it to you earlier before we were start recording, although I never say what the question is because I want to give space for spontaneity to happen. Um, so my final question for you is like a sort of three-part question, and is based on our practice of art yoga, where we conclude the practice by sharing three grateful things that happen in our day. But in this case, just like to keep on the connection between us and between our listeners as well. My invitation for you is, if you wish, to share three empowering messages, no matter how small or how big, with us, starting by dedicating these messages to yourself, then to me, and then to everybody else who is listening right now.
Okay.
It can be either under pressure or really easy and just remove the plaster.
just a small question.
Just a small one.
Yeah. So an empowering message to myself, to you, Jenny, and then one to the listeners.
It's not one. There are three collectively that we can embrace, even between me, you, and the listeners. Or if you want also to go one, and one, that could be also an option. People interpret it whatever way they wish. So I'm encouraging for you to do the same. I just wanted to clarify but
Yeah.
it might have created more confusion.
Okay. All right. I find it actually difficult to give empowering messages to others. Interestingly, I'm noticing that I'm finding this a little bit difficult. But I guess I want to keep on the theme of connection that we've kind of been talking about today. So having something in your day or in your week where you can connect in with yourself, I think is something that's really important, even if it's just one moment in the day where you do something to connect with yourself. Might be asking yourself how you are, or it might be giving yourself a little face massage with oil, just some self-connection moments. I think are really important to keep connection with yourself, and then you can kind of spread that connection out to others. And go spend time in nature and go talk to plants, I think is something I would love to share with others. Even if you think it's weird, give it a go, and you might really, really love it, really enjoy it. And another thing I think that has come up a little bit in our conversation is talking about talking about my youth or my experiences growing up, and then I like your art yoga, one of your art yoga saying, which is like staying true to the connection in your youth or something like that.
Yeah, that is quite funny because I pick it up in a fortune cookie, and after that I begin my project of art yoga, but it says keep true to the dreams of your youth. Yeah, and I find it absolutely on you, fitting perfectly.
Yeah, that's so I like that message as well. And you've reminded me of that, sparking some of these memories that I have of my youth and how that's kind of continued through my life. So I think that's awesome.
Oh, thank you so much, Patricia. And this is to me my favorite moment because I'm the first one to embrace the messages, and I like that today we mirror one that I often share, but I really like especially the first two as well because it's a good reminder that we sometimes not take for granted the relationship that we have with ourselves. We prioritize all the other ones, and we forgot a little bit about us, and recreating this connection by cuddling ourselves or go out for a walk in nature is something that it's possible to do. And it could be either very small or very big, but to me is a certainly a good empowering messages that I wish to embrace for myself. So thank
Nice.
you for your nice word. I really feel them. And well, I would like to thank you so much for your time and your sharing. I believe that everything that you shared today is been quite inspiring for myself, and I wish to extend this inspiration also for everybody who has been listening. And if anybody wish to connect with you, I invite them to do so because you have such a profound knowledge that it's wonderful to see how, in my experience, was joyful to see you sharing it. And I would like to encourage everyone who wants to deepen their knowledge as well to get in contact with you because you have such a gentle way of delivering something that you're so passionate with, that I'm hoping everybody will have the same feeling by connecting with you, either in this way or any other way.
Oh, thank you, Denise.
And thank you so much, everybody, for listening. Enjoy your day.
Grazie per averci fatto compagnia. We hope you enjoyed your time with us. If you wish to stay updated and connected, visit us on our social media channels and our website www.artyoga.co. Ci sentiamo presto. Ciao!